What's up, pilots? Today I want to talk to you about Fat Shark's new goggles, the HDOs. I personally really like these goggles. I've been testing them for a couple days now, and I'm going to talk about a few different topics, and I'd like to start with the most important thing to me, which is the OLED displays. The displays in these goggles are amazing. I can see things that I was having trouble seeing on racetracks in the past. White gates, if the lighting of the day is too bright and the clouds in the sky are washing out the racetrack, I feel like I no longer have issues with that. I can see all the details in the racetrack, and even if the grass is slightly yellow, things are still really clear. So I particularly had trouble with these gates from FPV Model that were white and black checkered on the pattern of the fabric. I actually stopped using those gates when I switched to micro cameras because they became invisible. But when we were flying this weekend, some of my friends were still using those gates, and I could finally see them again with these goggles on my micro cameras. So in addition to that, everything that used to be visible with my HDV3s are even clearer, brighter, and more saturated with color than they used to be. So, I personally spent a lot of money on cameras. This is a bag of like 4 or 5 different micro RunCam Swifts that are perfectly fine. I pulled all of those out of my quads for a competition because I wanted to replace them with micro cameras that had better color saturation. So I replaced them all with Predators, which are extremely saturated with color. Actually, they have the opposite problem where the colors are so saturated I have to tune the camera to make it look more natural. But the Micro Predator allowed me to see the racetrack, and for me that's the most important thing. If I can't see where I'm flying, I'm not going to finish the race. I'm going to crash, and especially at the speed I like to fly at, I'm definitely going to hit things if I can't see them clearly. So I feel like the HDOs give me the visibility that I need to build a competitive, lightweight racing rig. And that really means I can't fly a full-size HS1177. I've got to go for the micro cameras, got to have to save that 10 grams of weight, and it's important. So for me, that's a true selling point. These goggles are $500, $100 more than the HDV3 Core, and if I'm thinking about buying a new pair of goggles, that $100 is totally worth it because I'm a competitive racer. I need the best equipment to win, and I've already blown over $100, maybe $200 on cameras trying to get that competitive advantage to be able to see where I need to go. So as a new pair of goggles, I think it's a no-brainer. The extra $100 is worth it. As an upgrade, I think it really depends on what kind of pilot you are. If you're a casual pilot that's just looking to fly for fun, maybe you can't really justify a $500 upgrade, but you could always sell your HDV3s and buy the HDOs if you really want to have the best image quality going directly into your eyes. And, I've watched some other videos, and certainly the image that we get from my micro cameras is a low-resolution image, especially if we're looking at, CMOS, CCD cameras. Like, we don't have high resolution. But I found from my own testing, the image quality from the OLED displays is better. Every pixel is able to turn its own its own light source on and off. And what that means is, if you have a black pixel and a white pixel next to each other, on an LED, that entire area might be illuminated, so the black pixel may not always look black when it's turned off because there's a white pixel next to it turned on. On an OLED, you can have black, white, and the black pixels will just be off. There's no light that's bleeding into them from an LED or a backlight that's illuminating the entire region. So black are blacks, white are whites. It ultimately means if you have a checkered flag or a checkered gate, you can really see that element better. And the contrast in colors will show up more naturally on your display than it would if it were an LED display. So I find that awesome, amazing, and by itself is, for me, it's worth the upgrade because it's going to mean the difference between being able to finish a race and being able to see everything on the track, get my lines perfect, and try to compete. Now I want to talk about field of view as a second topic. These HDO goggles have, a smaller field of view than the HDV2s, HDV3s, and, that's controversial. So I originally started a few years ago with the Dominator V2 goggles. They had 32 degrees field of view, and honestly, I had no issues with that. I could see everything, my eyes never felt tired, but then DRL introduced the Dominator HD V2s to me, and the field of view on those was crazy. It was 50 degrees. In fact, it was too wide. I had issues where the lenses were blurry on the edges, and I felt like I had to look all around inside the goggles to see where I was going. So that was so extreme, I actually painted my goggles green that season, my own personal goggles. I painted them green so I could use them in DRL. And those are Sky Zones. I don't know what the field of view on the Sky Zones. Those are the 3D goggles. I'm not sure what version it was. But the field of view on those was similar to the Dominators, maybe a little bit narrower and also 16:9. So I used those in Season 1 for the championship race because the HDV2s were just way too wide. When the HDV3s came out, that was around the time we were doing DRL Season 2, and I loved those goggles. I actually bought my own pair after trying Friends, and the field of view for me was just perfect. It was wide, but not so wide that I felt like I had to look around inside of the goggles to see where I was going. Between the Dominator V2s at 32 degrees and the HDV3s at 42 degrees, honestly, they're both good for me. So when I think about the HDOs, which are 37 degrees, I think that's, splitting the difference and is kind of right in the middle where I want it. But that's just my opinion, and, I'm a pilot that doesn't like super wide field of view. I thought the HDV2s at 50 degrees was too large. I went as far as painting my own goggles green because I liked a smaller field of view. So that's just me. The last thing I want to talk about on the HDOs is some of the minor upgrades and changes they've made. They've improved the power circuitry running to this side of the device. This side of the device. So if you're running a higher power receiver module like Clearview or LaForge, you won't have the issues that previous goggles may have had with trying to draw a lot of current on this side. The other thing that's changed is how the DVR functions. It's a small change where when you turn the DVR on, the receiver automatically shuts off, and that's a neat feature, but you still have the switch on the bottom to manually turn the receiver on and off if you want to. And the other update that they've made is to the battery pack. The battery pack is a larger capacity. I believe it's 1800 mAh. I personally use... Oh boy. The thing I just threw on the ground is my battery pack that uses removable cells. Oh god. So I charge these separately so that when I get to the field I have 2 sets ready to go, and I don't have to worry about charging a pack when I'm at a race. Another minor change I've noticed is with the IPD adjustment. Moving these sliders back and forth feels more satisfying now. There's more of a tactile click every time I slide from left to right on each lens. I don't know if that was an intentional change or if it's just the variation on this set of goggles compared to my other goggles, but it feels better. And I'm moving the IPDs around a lot. Every time I put goggles on, they kind of shift, and then I have to move the displays left and right. And so, I care about things like this, and it's easier to adjust. It requires less force, so I really like that. Fat Shark has also changed the buttons that are used to turn the DVR on and off and change display control. They're snappier now. Whereas on the HDV3s, these buttons are a lot smaller, harder to find, and they don't quite feel as snappy. Yeah, they're definitely different buttons, or the way the buttons are integrated into the system are different. So the HDOs feel a lot more responsive, and I really like that. It's easier to find these large buttons when you're blindly searching for them with the goggles on. Alright guys, so to summarize, I would really recommend using the HDOs. If you have a friend that has a pair, definitely check them out for yourself. If you see me at an event or in a race, please come up to me and ask to check out these goggles. I'll happily let you check out the image on these, and I think you're really going to be blown away by how much better everything looks inside of these OLED displays.